only wants you to make good beer and have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. What's up, people? Today is the first. We got some excess wort boiling there. Yeast starter. This yeast was a little bit old. No fault of the manufacturer. It was just that I've had it for a while, and I'm gonna see if it's okay. It's 9 months. So I made a starter. Doesn't look like the best starter I've ever seen, but again, you know, I think I'm gonna give it a try. I'm close to homebrew stores, so you know, not a big deal. But the main thing that is the first is I am finally going to be using the Fermenter King 7.9 gallon. They must have rebranded it because they put that thing on it. It's right here. I think I understand how to put it together and how to use it. One thing I want your help on is I screwed the spunding valve onto this post and it's upside down, right? So I don't know how to back it off and have it tight. I don't know if there's some other adjustment. If I would just put like a little bit of the tape on there. But yeah, so basically I'm not going to go over all these parts and how you put it together because there are lots of videos on that, but I will give it a shot of it. So the goal here with my goal ultimately is to extend my lager brewing season, possibly. Of course, many of you have temperature control, so you can brew what you want any time of year. I just brew the lagers in the winter, and yeah, do it kind of, you know, naturally. That way, with the pressurized fermenter, the idea is that you can not only brew lagers at warmer than normal temperatures without getting bad flavors, but also that then because it's warmer they'll go faster. So you can brew them warmer, which for me, you know, might add like a month or two on like either side if I should want to brew a lager, and also faster. So I'm just making a Helles type of beer I've made many times. 10 pounds raw North Star Pils, half pound Cara Pils, half pound Munich, 1 ounce German Tradition. That's boiling in the garage. But the big story here is going to be how does it ferment. My basement is about 60, so which is fine. It's a little bit warmer than maybe the temperature range for this yeast, which I will double check. I don't see it on the package, but I'll look that up. But it's probably like, you know, 40 something to 50 something is probably generally what it would be. So it might be like a little bit over that, which is, again, is fine with the pressure fermenter. But yeah, I also got to figure out how to dial in the spunding valve to get it set between like 10 and 15 once it gets going, but see how it goes. Here is a shot of the wort sample, looking good. I didn't take a reading. I'll report on that. Hopefully it's at least 1050. So I commented on this yeast. It definitely smells fine. It smells yeasty and strong and you know, not off. I got some volume in here. So what I did is they give you this sticker with the volumes in what, gallons, liters, and I think I put maybe like 2 gallons in of water originally and then found the amount and lined up the sticker. So right now it looks like I got 5 1/4 or so, which is interesting because some of the fermenters I use I really don't want much more than like 5, but this thing is like 8 gallons. So I mean, I could actually experiment with doing slightly larger batches, but my whole setup is just kind of not really scaled that way. I wonder what the temperature is. 64? Oh, that's not too bad. I did look up the yeast temperature range. It was 44 to 56, something like that. So we will be a little over that, and that's what we want. That's the whole point of this technology. I'll get this all buttoned up, I'll get the cap on, and I'll go over a little bit more of the details of that, and we'll see if it starts going. Another reason people like the pressurized fermentation is because you can do closed transfers by pushing it out with CO2. That is something I have never done. This is some additional equipment. This is a floating ball that you would then hook up this tube, and you would put it on, I don't know if you can see it, no you probably can't, but there's posts, there's two posts, like an air and a liquid post under these fittings that these that the ball locks screwed onto, or the keg post screwed onto. I'm not going to mess with that right now. Maybe in the future. It's not something I've ever done. I would have to get another CO2 tank, I think, so I won't have to be unhooking my serving one. Anyway, this red ring is a 35 PSI relief. So, I certainly don't want to get it that high, but my point with that is I don't want that to be venting. These other things I just did hand tight. That's the recommendation. This is hand tight. Now, the trick is going to be with this spunding valve, you adjust it by this screw. I don't know if I mentioned it. I put it on a keg yesterday, and I think I had the thing around, like, I mean, I'm going to have to figure out how to read this, like upside down and in the dark and everything. But I'll be reporting on that. But I think I had it so where it was like at 7 or something around there, and I thought, okay, I just wanted to have some kind of a value because I've never done this, and I didn't know if I should have it all the way out, all the way in. I'm learning, but the idea is that pressure will start to build up, and then if you adjust the screw, you can, I think this thing is like 0 to 30. I'll have to look. So you can figure out, no, that's not right. I think it only goes up to maybe to 15. I'll double check that, but for now I'm going to put some t-shirts over it so it won't be exposed to light. And like I said, I think this basement is like 60-ish, maybe a little below. So if it is actively fermenting and I have shirts over it, would be probably in the mid to lower 60s. So now it's just a matter for the yeast to start doing their thing. I did put pure oxygen in there because it's a lager, and because I'm not 100% confident on the yeast anyway, so I did give it a dose of that. I figured this would be easier to read if I had it up, as long as I have to go underneath. So this thing is 0 to 15, and it's actually, it is just down on 0 now. I don't know why I thought it might be stayed at 7 when there's no pressure. That was kind of dumb. But the idea would be that this screw, that however I had it dialed in, well, I probably shouldn't have turned my camera like that. Anyway, so now I'm expecting it will build up to 7 and then start venting, and then at that point I can adjust and try to, I mean, my goal is somewhere between 10 and 15. Okay, so it is the second day. Oh wait, I gotta do this right. After pitching the yeast, it was a slower start than I wanted. What I'm looking at here now, for the first time, is this needle is off of 0. It took longer to get going. I don't know if you can tell from the shot, but it's almost up to 10, which is good. And so, of course, that means when I lift this up, I finally see that glorious shot. So now what I don't know is which way to turn the screw. I want to get it up to, you know, a little bit higher one way or another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it, I'm going to back it out. So that would be, so we're just going to go like this. We're just going to give it a little Oh, so now more's coming out. So what did that do? That made it go down to 9? No, I am confused. Alright, well, I'll work on this and update you when I figure it out. Okay, so now it's up to, what is that, 11 and a half? Something like that, 12. So, I think I figured out the way to turn this. So, let's go a little more clockwise. And I'll see if it'll go up a little bit more. I'm not really concerned about exactly the specific PSI. I'm just trying to get it between, 10 and 15 for this first iteration. But I'm also trying to figure out how this controller works. And it might just work intuitively like your other CO2 thing, where if you want to increase the pressure, you turn it clockwise. Which I think that's how this thing might be designed. But yeah, it went up, and that's good. So I'll come back in a little bit, see if it's, like 13 or something, and then just leave it. Otherwise, it had a Kreuzen, but then I did a swirl, and so now that will have to rebuild. I realize that this video is going to look like I don't know what I'm doing, and that's because I don't know what I'm doing. But we have had some positive developments. I brought it upstairs because I was reading, and you can actually ferment these lagers at ale temperatures. So downstairs it was 61. Let's see what, well, it still will be cool now. But my upstairs, okay, so it's warming up a little bit. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. I don't want it to get over, 70. If it is going to, then I'll have to, I guess, bring it back downstairs. But, yeah, I don't have a huge Kreuzen, maybe because I was swirling it. But here's an interesting development. It is now over 15. Maybe it's 16 or 17. So what I'm going to do is back this down. I've been screwing it clockwise to increase. So now I'm just going to... Actually, will this happen in real time? Oh, yeah. See, it's gassing off. Is it going down? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll mess with this, and I'll probably try to get it between 10 and 15. I mean, closer to 15 is probably okay. But, yeah, I mean, this is all just a learning experience, but I'm lowering the pressure now so it's venting. And yeah, that's how it's supposed to work, I guess. So the beer has been done fermenting for almost a full week. It's Thursday now. It really started fermenting on a week ago, Tuesday, and it really Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is all it took, and it was done. This was on here until recently, and then what I did is I bled off the pressure, and it was a lot of pressure, 15 pounds, and it went for some time. And then I'm getting ready to keg it, and I take a look, and what do I see? But not only did this just like bubble up like this when it was basically flat and clear, but now look at this junk. I don't know why I just didn't anticipate this. But what seems to have happened is the release of the pressure has stirred up the entire layer of trub. I mean, that seems to be what has happened. Now, I was not going to wash this yeast. I don't really want to let it sit overnight. I'm just trying to get this thing kegged. So, I think what I'm going to do is I have some gelatin in the keg. I think there's going to be a lot of sediment in the keg. Is really what it's going to come down to. There's also more beer in this fermenter than I can fit into the keg anyway. I thought about letting it sit here for like a half hour. Maybe I'll do that because some of the stuff will settle to the bottom and I can take off the top. But really what's going to happen is it's going to take some time in the keg before all of the stuff gets pulled out and then it's running clear. But this was not something I anticipated or had heard about, and maybe that's why they do the closed pressure transfer under pressure with the suspended ball lock and the tubing and stuff. So I might keg this off here in a bit. We'll see how it goes, but maybe next time I would try the other way. This beer is finally ready to be discussed. Ironically, it got clear. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about here. I'll do this as quickly as I can. I know I've been talking a lot in this video, and I was going to have somebody else help me on the tasting notes, but I thought, honestly, I just got to wrap this thing up as quickly as I can anyway. It got down to 1.008. I don't know if I talked about it in the fermentation section, but I mean, yeah, you're fermenting this stuff at 65 to 68 degrees, and it's going to go fast. I mean, it just is much faster than when it's 50 degrees. I brewed it on October 16th. Today is December 10th. So it's almost been 2 months. I kegged it after 11 days. But as you saw, all of that trub, all of that stuff did go into the keg. And it took a while. And it's kind of, you know, as I look at this right now, this is as clear as it's been. So it goes to show you, with time, it will get clear. There's something I didn't fully disclose. I think I talked about, oh, the yeast isn't starting as fast as I would like. Oh, that's too bad. Well, I don't know if I gave all the details, but I was trying to use an older packet of yeast. I thought it would work. I made a starter. Starter didn't really look like I wanted to look. Thought I would use it. Didn't start fermenting. After a day, I decided to dump in more of the same old yeast, thinking that if there was a greater quantity it would get going. Still didn't get going. So then I just went and bought a packet of dry lager yeast, 3470, dumped that in. You guessed it, it fermented. So that was my mistake. Nothing to do with the equipment or the process. The second mistake I made was agitating all of that trub by releasing that pressure. Now I will give you a hint. I definitely want to get this video going and get this out there, because the second pressurized fermented beer is already on tap. That thing went way better. I had healthy yeast. It was fermenting the night of brew day, which is, you know, what I usually like to see if possible. And I just backed off the pressure. So on kegging day, I was able to just take off the cap, rack the clean beer into the keg. I washed the yeast. I'll be using that in the next couple of batches. So the second take of the pressurized fermentation, which this is the end of the video of the first take, went way better. A little bit of a hint of what's to come. But what happened with this beer? What's interesting to me is, despite the old and the bad yeast, the slow start to fermentation, the warm lager ferment under pressure, and then kegging the entire trub amount, this beer is still not that bad. It's still pretty good, actually. People that have had it, and people that have had my previous Hellas beers fermented normally with colder temperatures, agree that it's not maybe quite as good as that. But I feel like the flavor that I get that's a tiny bit off, I think is just from some of the residual old yeast that still is maybe just lingering around, even though it is fairly clear. Like I said, I also kegged it with all that trub. But honestly, I mean, as I'm having some right now, it's probably as good as it's been so far, and it is getting clearer, and it's been like almost 2 months, and I probably have like way more than half the keg left, I would think, because I haven't been drinking it all that much. So I'll just keep following up on this, but I wanted to get this out there. If anyone has an idea about the regulator in the how to face it down. And my thought is maybe if I was to put some of that Teflon tape on there, and it might stop it in a different position. I don't think I can adjust it any other way, but if any of you have any other ideas, comment on that. Comment on your attempts at pressurized fermentation. I will also say the second one I did was also done fermenting on like the third day. I mean, it just goes so fast, kind of just like an ale. So then basically you still might want to lager it for some time, but the initial part of it is just so much faster. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think that any of the flavors I'm getting in here are from fermenting it warmer. I can't tell. I will not know that until I do a couple more batches. Sorry this is so long once again. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the second pressurized fermentation beer. It's a fest beer. It's the first time I've ever made that style. We'll catch you later.